Barack Obama is on the stump today. You know who's not having a public event today? Vice President Kamala Harris. She's doing. It is one of my favorite topics because I find her campaign curious. I don't understand why she's not. I mean, I covered the Obama campaign in 2008, and on this day in 2008, he held two huge rallies in Virginia, which was then a battleground state. Today she's not doing nothing. She's doing an interview with Telemundo. She's doing an interview with NBC. But you don't think these kinds of rallies are important for her to be doing every day?
Well, I think doing events is absolutely important, as are the interviews. But just to what Margie was talking about, I think one of the benefits we have with being able to have Bill Clinton in one location and Barack Obama and Tim Walz and Eminem in Detroit tonight is it's a force multiplier. It means on the days when she's also out there, we have multiple cities and multiple communities at the same time hearing the message, something that Trump has not been able to achieve. And it also means, because look, I was in Pennsylvania over the weekend, there are people who really are undecided.
Oh, yeah.
For whom they're still learning the information about, frankly, even both sides, which is really interesting.
So let me turn to my two Republicans here. So let's just play a little bit of Barack Obama, because he was not only extolling the virtues of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. In fact, he probably was spending more time attacking Donald Trump than he was praising the Democrats. It seemed that way to me anyway. Here's one of those excerpts.
So, Wisconsin, we do not need to see what an older, loonier Donald Trump looks like with no guardrails. America's ready to turn the page. We are ready for a better story, Wisconsin.
Your thoughts?
Turn the page. She can't even answer how she'd be different than Joe Biden, number one. And you're right, because she's not out there today. We're doing shifts, apparently. We're 2 weeks out, and she's clocking in and out with Barack Obama and Eminem tonight. So I just am flummoxed, to your point again, why we're 2 weeks out. Her first event is a 3:40 interview with NBC, and there's no events in the morning, nothing. I don't understand it.
We'll take it. I mean, listen, she clearly doesn't want a campaign. She feels when she does interviews, she underperforms. We prefer her to do more interviews, but we're going to make our message clear to the American people. This election is going to be about the economy, and it's going to be about immigration. And we're going to talk about that every day. She's going to hide, or maybe she needs 10 hours to prepare for a couple of interviews. So that means at this rate, she'll probably have, 6 more interviews between now and the end of the campaign. She's clearly avoiding the media, and there's reasons why she can't defend her record.
Thanks to all. We'll have more panel in a few minutes. Let's bring in Dan Pfeiffer, who worked as a senior advisor for President Obama. He's now a co-host of the popular podcast Pod Save America. Dan, 16 years ago, you and I were on the same airplane, traveling all over the country. I was covering Obama. You were working for him. On this day, Obama did 2 huge rallies, one in Leesburg, Virginia, the other in Richmond, Virginia. Just for the kids out there, Virginia at the time was a hotly contested purple state. Now it's more blue. But today, Harris is not doing any. Can you explain the strategy? Can you explain why she's not doing 2 or 3 rallies a day as Obama did back then?
Well, look, I am with you in that she should be doing as much as you possibly can. Politics has changed a lot since then. You now can reach people in ways you could not before. Local media was the dominant way in which you communicated with voters back then. So being in a battleground state was of massive importance because you were dominating local TV. Being on the front page of the local newspaper was hugely significant back then, less so now. So she's been out there a lot. And this also stands in contrast to Trump, who did have one event which he fell asleep in during this morning, and then was so exhausted he canceled his RFK Jr. Tulsi Gabbard town hall. Now, as a Democrat, maybe I wish he hadn't canceled that. But look, she should be doing more, but she's doing a lot more than Trump, and she's been out there a lot over the last few weeks.
We should note that Donald Trump has last week canceled a number of interviews. He was supposed to do an NBC interview, a CNBC interview. He canceled 60 Minutes, so it's not as though that Kamala Harris is the only one that I have questions about. But let me ask you another question, which is about her seeming inability to say how she's going to do anything different than Joe Biden. Do you think that she's so hesitant to do that and was unable to do so in the View interview because the Harris campaign is afraid of upsetting Joe Biden and Team Biden, that if she tried to differentiate herself, that might set them off? Because it seems to me the best thing that could happen for Joe Biden, for his legacy, would be for her to win.
I can't speak to whatever the internal dynamics are. She did not answer it well in The View. We all know that. She answered it better in several interviews last week, declaring, I'm not Joe Biden, and pivoting it forward to how her experience was different, including the fact that she is not someone who has spent a lot of time in Washington. But I'm sure there is some sense, like she is part of the administration. If she were to just turn around and do what a lot of commentators are asking her to do and just
And
like
I think everyone knows.
like take a hard swipe at them, that's going to look inauthentic, right? And so the key here is she has to be able to show that she participated in the decisions here, but going forward is going to do things differently because she's a different person than Joe Biden. But it's not an easy question to answer.
One other thing I want to ask you about, you spoke with the New York Times recently in an opinion conversation called Why Kamala Harris's Call Her Daddy strategy might not be enough. And I wonder what more should she be doing? And also, do you think that the Democratic Party is paying enough attention to men and specifically young men?
The context of that conversation was about the need for Democrats to reach out to Gen Z men in particular and using the platforms in which these men consume news, which is not CNN. It's not necessarily Pod Save America for some of them. And right around the time I did this, had that conversation, she did that interview with All the Smoke, a podcast hosted by two former NBA players that targets that exact group, particularly young Black men. But I think we have to be doing more to reach out to Gen Z men, both for this election and over the long term, because this is what Trump is doing every day. He may be canceling his events. He may be canceling CNBC and NBC and all the other things. What he is doing is every day sitting down and doing a podcast with some podcaster whose audience is largely young men. And that's where he has made gains in selection. We have to push back on that.